Let's start with something we see almost every single night. An object so familiar, so constant that we almost never really stop to think about it.
The moon. It's our silent companion, always there, hanging in the night sky.
And it's more than just a pretty light. It controls our tides, it keeps our planet steady on its axis. Really, it helped create the stable world that allowed life, well, us, to even exist.
But the funny thing is, the more we learn about the moon, the more questions we have. It seems to defy all the easy explanations.
The first real head-scratcher starts with something super basic, something that just doesn't quite add up: its weight. So, the moon's average density is about 3.34 grams per cubic centimeter. Now, that number by itself might not sound like much, but for a solid rocky world of that size, that's surprisingly light. In fact, it's way less dense than our planet Earth. And that big difference naturally leads you to wonder, what's actually inside it? Or maybe a better question is, what isn't? For a long time, this low-density thing was just a curiosity, a weird little fact. That is until the Apollo missions, when a deliberate experiment gave us a result that absolutely nobody was expecting. So back in 1969, NASA had this idea. To figure out what the moon was made of, they basically decided to, well, create an artificial moonquake. They had seismometers set up on the surface to measure the vibrations. And the way the scientists described what they heard, it was pretty strange. They said the moon rang like a bell. Now here's the really wild part. The ringing didn't just stop after a few minutes. No. The reverberations, the ringing, it continued for nearly an entire hour.
And see, that's just not what solid objects do. A solid rock or planet is supposed to absorb a shock, a kind of thud, and then it's over. But a hollow structure resonates. It rings.
But believe it or not, the ringing wasn't the only weird thing scientists found going on inside the moon. When they looked closer at the data, they found a whole list of oddities. For one, the moon's core is way too small for a body its size. Its crust is lopsided, much thicker on the far side. And its mass isn't spread out evenly at all. It's a cosmic imbalance that's really, really hard to explain by just natural formation. And the strangeness isn't just what's on the inside. The moon's actual position in space, its orbit, well, it's what you might call a statistical improbability. First off, it has a nearly perfect circular orbit, which is really unusual for a natural moon. But then there's this. The moon is about 400 times smaller than the sun, but it's also 400 times closer to us. That precise, perfect ratio is the reason we can have a total solar eclipse, where the moon's disk exactly covers the sun. I mean, what are the odds of that? It feels almost engineered. So when you start to put all of these pieces together, the low density, the fact that it rings like a bell, the weird unbalanced interior, and that mathematically perfect orbit, it all points to one very unsettling question. What if the moon's presence in our sky isn't a cosmic accident at all? And this, right here, is the very core of the hollow moon theory. The idea that the moon isn't a natural body, but an artificial construct. A massive, ancient megastructure designed and put right where it is. Now, of course, mainstream science has an explanation called the giant impact hypothesis, that a huge object hit the early Earth and the moon formed from the debris. But even that great theory has a hard time explaining the ringing or the orbital perfection. So that's where we're left. We have a choice. Is our moon just an incredibly unusual natural object full of bizarre coincidences? Or is it something else entirely? An artifact hiding in plain sight? The whole story of the moon really shows us that science moves forward by looking at the weird stuff, by confronting the anomalies, not by just sweeping them under the rug. And that leaves us with one last thought, doesn't it? What else do we look at every single day but have never truly seen?